I just don't understand that I've just got a bill from my nursery for this upcoming month, which is April, for £448.
For me to be dropping my son just for half an hour in the mornings, just so I can get to work on time, for £6.50 is crazy to me. Yeah, it might sound alright, £6.50 is nothing, but when you add up during the week, you're spending untold, over £100 or more a week.
Our total is $1,230 for childcare per week for our 4 kids.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another video from Revolux Talk. Today we'll be looking at another one of those hard-hitting topics, and that is high childcare costs, something that affects a lot of UK parents every day. So we'll be looking at some videos of some real parents struggling with skyrocketing bills, and we'll be breaking them down for you. Now stick around towards the end of the video where we're giving you some tips on how to reduce your childcare bills and also some useful information about government funding. Now if you're new to the channel, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit the bell for further notifications so you don't miss out on new videos that I post.
I just worked out that if I was going back to work full time, it would cost me £1,600 in childcare. £1,600. How insane.
£1,600 just to go back to work. That's not really a job, is it? That's more like volunteering for the nursery. If you're doing a full-time shift just to pay someone else to do a full-time shift to look after your child, there's very little value in doing that. It's no wonder some parents are just stuck at home really after having a child. Not because they want to, but because the maths doesn't add up.
What the hell? What the helly? Because, I'm sorry, £6.50 for breakfast club and £12.50 for after school club is absolutely ridiculous. For me to be dropping my son just for half an hour in the mornings, just so I can get to work on time, for £6.50 is crazy to me. Yeah, it might sound alright, £6.50 is nothing, but when you add up during the week, you're spending untold, over £100 or more a week. That's crazy to me, just on breakfast club. And then you've got after school clubs. When I asked my son, what did you do? Oh, we just ran around. Or what did you eat? Oh, we had cracker and cheese. So £12.50 for my son to have cracker and cheese and to literally stay at after school club for half an hour is absolutely crazy. I cannot be the only one, but I do feel like something needs to be done, and especially for those that don't have any support. I'm grateful that I have some kind of support in terms of childcare at times, but for mums that don't have any support, it is very difficult, because if they don't go to work, then they're being classed as, oh, they're lazy, they don't want to work. But that is not the case. That is really not the case. If you go to work, half of your income is ending up given to nurseries or given to after school clubs and clubs just for you to attend work. So you're basically paying to go to work. What the hell? I just think it's crazy, because I struggle. I'll be honest with you, I struggle, because £6.50 for breakfast club, £12.50 after school club is ridiculous. And when you add it all up at the end of the month or at the end of the term, however they want the payment, and it's crazy. And then you have to pay it in advance, so it's not like you're paying for the month after, you're paying it all in advance. So something needs to be done. It needs to change, because it's unfair.
Yeah, so this is exactly the kind of situation that highlights how broken the childcare system is. As you were seeing there, she pays about £19 a day for breakfast and after school club. At the end of the week, it's almost £100 and easily a few £100s by the end of the month. That's quite expensive really for any parent, and what she's saying is real. Parents are under pressure to go to work, but the system kind of punishes them for doing so, and in the end you're not really supporting, you're not just going to work to support your family, but you're also working to afford to go to work. That's just crazy, and that's kind of what really needs to change, in my opinion.
Just had payday, and I thought that today I would talk you through how I budget my salary. If you don't know me, my name's Emily. I'm saving for my second maternity leave at the moment and tackling a no by 2025 to do it. I'm also trying to address my, in general, very bad spending habits through doing so. I've been paid £3,454. That's after deduction, everything that's actually gone into my bank account. So let's first of all talk through the things that have almost immediately gone straight back out again. £1,439.06, which is the money that I put into a separate bank account that covers my bills and my half of the mortgage. £388 on our nanny who does wraparound care for my son. My husband's paid her £500, I've paid £388. I've also set aside £336 for nursery, preschool. That's half of the payment that I will be paying them next month. I've set aside £100 for gifts / miscellaneous. So this is things like if I'm going to take my son swimming, take him to soft play, take him to the cafe, need to buy a drink, etc. And then any birthday gifts or anything like that that comes up during the month. So only £100, so got to be very thrifty. I've also put £100 into a sinking fund, which I'm hoping to use as a place to have an extra sort of pot of savings, and I don't really want to dip into that at all because I did have it as like a separate thing, and then I thought £200 a month is probably quite generous considering I'm doing an by year. So I'm going to see how I get on with trying to just use that 100 and then use the other 100 if something goes wrong or I have an unexpected expense. I've also put £150 into our joint account. That joint account accumulates £300 a month, and we use that for groceries and anything that Remy might absolutely need.
Now, this is someone who's doing everything right. She's literally budgeting, planning, and setting money aside to the last pound, literally putting away around £724 a month. That's between nanny and nursery. And that's just even before all of the other groceries and other monthly costs that she has. And what stands out is how much mental energy it takes just to stay afloat. She was definitely showing that. I mean, she's literally forecasting to the very last pound. You know, if she doesn't, something's going to get missed and the family's in a bit of a problem, if you like. But the way to think of it is, this is typical for working families with two incomes. I imagine it's probably a lot more difficult for a single parent.
Sorry for this rant, but can we just talk about nursery fees in the UK, please? All these free hours, it's not free. Like, I just don't understand how other people are still affording to work. They say, we're going to give you 3 hours so it'll help with childcare so you can get a job and work. I work 16 hours a week and my wage is £700 a month. My husband works full time, so therefore we get the 3 hours. Now, I just don't understand that I've just got a bill from my nursery for this upcoming month, which is April, for £448. But she's only coming in for 30 hours per week. And they're free. So why am I getting billed £448 a month? I understand that you have to pay for meals and everything separately, but then also what you're doing is paying, you don't get the 3 hours in the holidays. So what they do is they stretch it over, the funded hours over the year, and then they will send you a bill for the difference. First of all, my question is, why are 3 hours only in term time only? Because you still have to work in the holidays. They're not in school, this is nursery. So I'm really, really confused. Can someone shine a light on this for me? I rang the nursery and I said, £448, that's not really what I've worked out. Oh, well, there's 3 days in April which you're not funded for also. So we're charging you £68 per day for those 3 days on top of your bill. Right. Why don't you, here's an idea, if you're going to stretch it over the holidays to cover the holidays and then you pay the difference each month, why don't you add them in to the non-funded days, which would be the holidays? Anyway, I hope that hasn't confused you, but I'm just annoyed because then I'm looking at my wage. I'm on maternity at the moment, so to be honest, I probably don't even need the childcare, but I just want to keep her in there to keep her place. I've got to keep her in there to keep her place. Don't get us wrong, I'm so grateful for the 33 hours or any 3 hours, but my point is, it's not free. It doesn't help people out because then you're still paying an amount.
Yeah, I think she makes a really great point here. I mean, if schools are billing you for those non-funded days, why not clearly explain these dates to the parents from the outset, and send monthly bills with clear breakdowns so parents can fully understand what's happening? I mean, I don't think parents should have to chase these numbers. I mean, we're already juggling work, school, and stress. It's just a lack of clarity that comes from the admin side of things, really. It's a shame. Now, I think the next parent here is from the US. It'll be interesting to see just how expensive things are over there. Let's take a look.
People are constantly saying that kids are expensive, but they never elaborate on what that means. But we know that millennial parents and Gen Z parents aren't having kids or having fewer kids because of how expensive it is. And so I'm going to share what I spent on my 4 kids this week, just to give you an idea on what people mean when they say kids are expensive. I'm going to start off with a big ticket item. It is childcare. I have 4 children, and so that is more than the average family. So I will break it down per kid for you so you understand the full cost. So my 2 youngest kids, who are 3 and 4, they are in full-time daycare. They're in a preschool room and a pre-K room. It is $78 per day per child. And so for the 2 of them to attend full-time 5 days a week, it is $780 a week. Now, I also have 2 older kids. They are 7 and 8 years old, but they go to after-school care at their school. That is $45 per day per child, and so that's $450 a week. Our total is $1,230 for childcare per week for our 4 kids.
Wow, that is what people really mean when they say kids are expensive. I mean, she's spending around $1,200 a week. That is super expensive, probably unaffordable for a lot of parents. She wasn't even talking about the extras. That's just basically full-time care. So her and her husband, I imagine, can go to work. I mean, she broke it down as well. I think, was it $78 per day per child for nursery, and I think around $45 a day for after-school club. That's just insane amounts of money. That's not just expensive, is it? It's just sort of borderline unaffordable for a lot of families, I imagine, over there, as well as over here in the UK. And it's probably, as she says, probably is the reason why a lot of millennials and Gen Z are just not having kids at all these days. It's just far too expensive, isn't it? You know, if raising kids comes with a bill at the end of the week that's almost the size of your rent, I mean, how are families supposed to survive? And I think our next lady here is from New Zealand. It'd be interesting just to see how expensive things are down there. Let's take a look.
I want to know, what are we all paying for daycare? I met a couple at a wedding who were from the UK. They said that Nursery, which is what they call daycare in the UK, comes in their area at about £70 a day. So like $140 a day, New Zealand. That to me is insane. That's an insane price for daycare per day. We pay in New Zealand, in Auckland, New Zealand, we pay $75 a day. So it's about half of what those guys were paying in the UK. No, in Australia, that it is less. At least in Queensland, where I have a friend who also has a child in daycare, they get their subsidies, like their free hours, a lot quicker than we do here in New Zealand. In New Zealand, we get free hours after the child turns 3. And I think lower income families can also get a subsidy to pay for childcare before 3, but we don't qualify for that.
So she's paying about half of what most British parents pay here in the UK per day. So if we're paying around £70 a day, she's paying around £35 a day. Obviously, she talked in dollars there, but even she thinks it's insane. You know, things are just obviously a lot more cheaper over there in terms of childcare costs, and I imagine the cost of living is probably cheaper over there as well. I suppose the frustrating part is that we're not getting double the quality or double the hours here for the money that we're paying, just double the bill, unfortunately. I imagine that part of the reason why things are more expensive here is that it's a more regulated industry. Of course, that comes with higher costs. It's more underfunded here in the UK as well, as opposed to New Zealand, where I think the government stepped in a little bit more to help out. And I suppose the businesses here that do provide childcare costs have higher overheads, and thus, you know, the burden of that lands on us, the parents, the consumers. So that would probably make a lot more sense. So I thought I'd give you a bit of a recap as to what funding is available for parents living in England. I think between the ages of 9 months and 23 months, at the moment, there isn't any government funding, but I think that changes in September, where you can claim up to 15 hours free as long as each parent is earning less than £100,000 a year each. Not combined, that's each. I think currently from the ages of 2 to 3 years of age, you can get 15 hours free if you're if you're eligible. So if you're a non-working parent and has eligible benefits, you can get 15 hours free. Also, I think it's available for working parents who also earn less than £100,000 per year. I think from September, though, that does change for working parents. So it'll be 30 hours a week rather than 15. And it'll stay the same for non-working parents who are on eligible benefits at 15 hours per week. And moving on to ages 3 and 4, I think all families get 15 hours a week free. That's a universal thing for all families. But I think you can get 30 hours a week for working parents, and that's, again, each parent earning less than £100,000 a year. That doesn't change in September. That's exactly the same scenario as it currently all is now. And I've also got some tips to help you reduce your childcare costs. So I know it's a very obvious thing, but register early for any government funding, definitely before any of the deadlines. So this is really important. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is, if you're a working parent, apply for tax-free childcare. That's where the government will give you 20% of your childcare cost bill at the end of the month. So for every £8 you put in, they will put in £2. And that, I guess, helps. If you're on universal credit, there's something called universal credit childcare support, and that's something else that you can apply for, and that will definitely help with your childcare costs as well. A lot more schools are now offering nurseries, and these are government backed, and they are cheaper to run as a result. They're cheaper for parents as opposed to using private nurseries where the bills are a lot more higher. I think on average you can save around £7,500 a year using a school-based nursery, so do look at that as well, guys. I think another thing to consider is shift work or shift patterns. If you're able to play around with your hours at work or your shifts and try and link it in with childcare slots, you're bound to make some savings there, just making the most of every hour that you have your child in childcare there. The other point is a very obvious point as well, really. It's negotiating with your childcare provider. If you can do that, you're more than likely to get a discount. So for example, if you paid upfront, paid in advance of a certain period of time, you may be able to get a bit of a discount. If you don't ask, you don't get. So definitely do look into these things, guys. It'll definitely make a difference. So there you have it, guys. Childcare in the UK is very expensive, but somehow we'll make it manageable and make it work. Now, if today's video has helped you in any way, please hit that like and subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell for further notifications. You'll know exactly when I'm going to drop another video. Now, if you've got your own experience with childcare costs, please drop a comment below. Let's talk about it. Let's build a community and support each other. Now, until next time, I'm Mo from Revolux Talk. Peace.